Hello, wonderful people. I hope you're doing exceptionally well. Today, I'm out on another hike with Harlow, and I wanted to chat with you about why getting things done isn't getting you where you want to go. And there's some really interesting and important points in this, and I was actually prompted by someone reaching out on one of the other videos that I created on talking about rethinking decisions. This was then looking at the terminology they use, which I quite enjoyed, and it's just for illustrations purposes, is when you are dealing with execution junkies, people who need to execute all the time. And it really got me thinking, and I thought I could absolutely serve some value here and share some thoughts on it, which hopefully will be of use to any of you out there who find lots of joy in execution. What's important to say there is that execution is revered. It is seen as progress. It is seen as doing things. People who execute, people who make things happen, we think that's great, right? If you know someone who just gets stuff done, or someone who's just taking action, just making things happen, executing, we definitely in society have a propensity to revere that. Understandably, because we want to get things done. Progress is important. Building things, creating it, kind of comes down to things that are innate within us as human beings and the world we live in today, right? So it's safe to say that it's respected. Sorry, it's raining, so I just had some rain under my screen there. Ultimately, what happens when you are living in a world of execution? There's a couple of things that are going on there which can be really interesting. And if you find yourself, if this resonates with you, and you find yourself in this place where either you revere execution or you are someone that finds great joy in execution, but ultimately you still find that you're not getting to the results that you want and that the outcomes that you're looking for, what can start to happen is that movement can become the default. So it's that if you're not moving, then there's something wrong. There's quite a few multi-layered parts to this, and there's going to be subjectivity depending on individuals. So each of us has a completely different experience of the world through the lens of our thoughts, our beliefs, which is all established through our experiences, through our educations, our upbringing, our social conditioning, and many, many other factors. And even if two people were brought up in the same home, they still can have very different perspectives, and likely will have very different perspectives on the same things. But that's completely okay, and that's what makes us the individuals that we are. But what that also means is that in order for us to understand what's going on for each of us, we need to bear in mind that it's going to be a unique journey for us, and we have the opportunity to learn about ourselves and what's going on for us in these different moments. So when you are someone that executes, and you find that you're executing all the time, but you're not getting the outcomes that you want, or you're feeling things are not quite hitting where you want them to hit, someone that executes is someone that decides. They progress, they move. Things happen because you make them happen. You get out there and you push, and you're building, you're energetic in doing so, and then that movement feels productive, right? It feels like it's moving you in directions that are important to you and valuable to you. And this is where we come to the important points of both the subjectivity and also opportunity to observe. What is it about progress that is so important to you? Now, there will likely be tiers of responses to that. Not tears as in crying, tears as in tiered responses to that. Initially, you might have your first responses that come up that it's just what you do, right? It's just how you operate in this world. Like, I don't understand why people don't execute. It's just, this is what you do, it's progress, and we revere it, and it means I'm moving, and that's what's important. But I wonder if the true reasons, what I like to call the true motivation behind these things, I wonder for you in this moment, as you reflect on this and going forwards, to really look at what's really going on there. Because do you have it in clear focus, what's important about execution? And you may well say, yes, absolutely, Stuart, and it's this, and that's great. But if the part of this resonates with you is that you are getting outcomes that are not quite hitting the mark, they're not what you want, and you're just executing but not finding the outcomes that you want, then there's likely something in that clarity that you have that is unclear, or something behind that, a different tier of what's going on for you within that. So this is where we come to the true motivations. What is behind executing for you? What is it about just going and going and going that's really important. Now, is where we can open up all sorts of different parts, but it doesn't have to be a scary journey. It's just noticing, because ultimately, if you can hold this lightly and be gentle with yourself, the place that you're looking to get to, and remember, it's always important that we understand the purpose behind actions that we're taking. The purpose of this is to get to the outcomes that you want. Now, it doesn't mean you have to slow down. It doesn't mean you have to stop executing. It doesn't mean you have to deny yourself who you are. You don't need to remove the speed, because the person that you are it's really important that we all embrace our natural tendencies and work out which of them are tendencies that we can use in a way that could be stronger for us, and which are the ones that we're using that are actually tripping us up and they're slowing us down or they're causing problems. So with that level of curiosity, you can notice, okay, you don't have to lose the speed, you don't have to lose the curiosity, but if you can start inquiring for yourself into what is truly behind the importance of moving quickly. What is it for me that is important about moving all the time? What does it mean? Is it that it allows me to escape the given moment? Is it that I've actually over the years identified with progress? I've identified with being someone who executes, and people always revered me and said, this, Bob, Susan, whoever is great because they just get stuff done. They're just executing all the time. But what people see from the outside versus what's on the inside can be very different things. And the assumption from the outside, and this is where we kind of have the keeping up appearances or keeping up with the neighbors type mentality, is that things can look great from the outside, but the reality inside could be very different. Now, we assume we see someone executing that they are achieving, that they're getting what it is that they want. That's not necessarily the case. And they may have identified so much with being someone who executes that they make it look as though that they are successful, because again, to a degree, the world demands it. We all want to see progress happening. This is how we feel. It might be part of our self-worth. It might be how we feel that we're moving forwards. This is not to say that execution is bad. Of course it isn't. Execution is very important. But if you're getting to outcomes that don't resonate in what you don't want, then there's a missing link. And it doesn't mean you have to burn it all and change who you are and all that jazz. It might be some minor adjustments that allow you to understand what actually informs and motivates your desire to execute, and recognizing that it's getting you to outcomes that are not what you want. It might, and what is really interesting about our identities is that our identities are fluid. They shift and they move, and what we identify with, if we find joy in that, i.e. we've had responses that we want. So people have given us kudos, they've celebrated us, or we've been, we've had a position in the world where we've done really well, perceivably, or maybe we have actually done very well, and therefore it was execution that got you there. So therefore you identify with the fact that it is execution that will get me to where I want to go. Now, that may well be correct, because execution is important, as we were just discussing. However, execution for execution's sake will mean that you are starting lots of things. Great. But are you finishing them? Are you completing them? Now, what can also happen then is that you might find that you don't complete things, but that's okay, because you made a decision to execute on something else. So you've become very good at just putting the prior execution to bed, saying that didn't work, and moving on to the next execution. Now, in that moment, that execution represents all those things that are so important, you've identified with. You're showing up, you're executing, you're doing all the right things, right? So what's the problem? But what it can look like over time is the pattern and the repetition is that you're not actually executing to a point where you're getting to where you want to go. There's some really fascinating stuff that I talk about in another one of these videos and articles. Is around that when you get things started but you don't finish them. And if you're interested in looking at that more, have a look for that video. It's also here in this library, but also the article is on the Motivate website and in the living room. But because there's some really interesting stuff that goes on for us. So is it that, and I guess execution junkie is a good terminology here, because you could well be, following along in that analogy, addicted to executing. So it's just go, 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 go. So it feels like you're moving at 1,000 miles an hour, kilometers an hour, whichever metric works for you, or sense or unit of measure, but not actually getting where you want to go. And that can be really frustrating. Now, you pile on top external requirements, external expectations that pull us in more directions, which we all have, whether it's work, it's family, it's friends. And then there's also huge assumptions around how we should show up. So ultimately, the things that we identify with become more and more precious because they're ours and we built them. And there's a likelihood that what we have built in these things that we identify with have served us. They've had value, they've been important. The really important thing is to be open enough to be able to question if the things that you still identify with, if the things that you rely on to help you exist and do the things in the world that you want to do in your way, do they still serve you? Do you understand what informed them in the first place? It could have been a need to prove to a parent. It could be a need to prove to yourself. And a lot of the time, the accountabilities that we feel when we're executing are not just external. They can also be internal. The pressure can be coming from us, which is a lot of what we're chatting about today. But it can also be external. So it could be, if you are an entrepreneur and you have a board of investors, you need to show up for those investors, and they want to see you executing. They want to see you doing stuff. But if you're just doing stuff and it's not getting you to outcomes that they want, that you want, that are actually moving forwards, then you're busy again, but you're not actually getting there. So then there's something in that about how you're identifying with the actions that you're taking and what's happening for you in that is unconsciously valuable and important to continue doing. So it's, again, this is where the junkie part comes in. It's still feeding yourself that need. And it can feel like success in that moment. But when you later get some distance from the actions you're taking, what you're executing on, and you get that clarity, otherwise you wouldn't be feeling this, I'm not getting the outcomes I want. This is, again, an opportunity to notice the difference. So I started at that point and I was wanting to get to over there. This is what the outcome was. And I did iteration, each one I executed on, but I've ended up over here. So how is that? Is this better? Is it worse? Can I make it work? Nah, I can keep executing and I can make it work. And then now we go off over here and over here. But do we actually end up on the outcome that you wanted to get to? So execution for execution's sake can be exhausting. It can really push you to levels and degrees that just feel so deeply frustrating because you're doing the right things, right? You're doing what's important. You're showing up. You're doing what you believe is correct, and yet it's not getting you where you want to go. So the real work here is an opportunity here is to have a look at what is going on for you within that execution. What are you getting from it? Like, again, going along with the drug analogy, are you getting a hit from it? What is that hit? What is in that? A sense of progress, a sense of feeling like you belong because you're being who you have learned to be over the years and what has served you. But do you still need that to belong? Do you still need to push that hard? Do you still need to do those things? Is it possible that you could perhaps shift some dials somewhere, still be you, but a refined, more developed, evolved level of you, a version of you that has grown and learned from all of your experiences up to now? And this is the great opportunity we all have, is to, our lives are, our history is the encyclopedia of us, the encyclopedia of you. So in retrospect is a great way to look and learn from yourself what's happened in different situations and scenarios. Because just looking forwards, all we do is beat ourselves up. Why isn't this working? It worked before. Why am I not getting outcomes that happened? And the why question is, well, why as a question is judgmental in its sort of inherently. It's a useful question, but it can also be judgmental, and we can end up taking ourselves in thought and emotional loops that are not helpful. I'll give you an example. Why did I do that versus what was informing my actions that I got to this outcome, or what was going on that I made that decision? What becomes more expansive? Why is more judgmental? Why did you get that wrong? It's more, so you're kind of judging yourself. So what could life look like if you had a better understanding of what's truly informing your need to execute? And what might be behind the need to execute? And how could you use your incredible ability to execute to really achieve what you want to achieve? And a very good question, how clear are you on what you actually want to achieve? Because is it that you just execute and you just push, and if I keep walking and I keep going, at some point I'm going to get to the top of a mountain? Well, not if you're in a desert. Or not if you're, in a very flat place. You're going to do a lot of walking, but you're not going to get to the mountain. So also clarity on where you're going, what you want to achieve. And are the aspirations too big? Do you need smaller aspirations that can allow you to find, okay, this is success? And what does success look like for you? How do you know what will happen when you know that you've succeeded? What will that look like? What will that feel like? And you might say, well, I don't know. It depends on what I'm looking at. But so I hear you, but without clarity, it's that good old adage, or cliche, and cliches are cliches for a reason, right? They're generally right or true. Is that it's like getting in the car and having a GPS with you, but not setting a direction. So you can drive, but if you've not set an actual destination of where you want to go to, you're going to be driving, yeah. but you're never going to get where you want to go. You're going to go places, but you're never going to get where you want to go. And you'll keep fueling up and getting more snacks and doing all these things and changing tires and tuning engines, but you'll just be going on and on and on and on and on. So the opportunity is remain someone who executes. It's a fantastic trait to have. Or this incredible strength that you have, this ability that you have. So learn how to wield it in a way that serves you. Another analogy for you, it's great to have a sword, but if you don't learn how to sword fight, it's just going to be a very shiny, sharp ornament that you could open letters with. And you'll still find that it's effective. You can do things with it, but how much more could you do it? If you really got to know you, what's really going on behind you, your skills, your talents, your abilities, and notice what is just detracting from that, which again, maybe used to have value, so it's okay. But how do you choose to use the tools that you have moving forward in a way that serves you? And it's not going to be suddenly, oh, I'm going to do it this way and everything's, oh, it's great, hurrah. It's going to be a matter of trying and trying and trying, iteration. And again, this is we've talked about this in a number of these videos. This is how it works. It's iteration. So remain an execution junkie, but don't be the junkie part. Be the one who chooses to wield it in a way that serves you. Lots of people struggle with execution. If you find the execution is something that you can just get on top of and you can go, then work out what's tripping you up. Is it lack of direction? Is it the association with execution that's filling some kind of hit that you're getting? Is it that it was valuable and useful in the shape it was, but it's not anymore? Any of these questions, whatever the answers are, if it's yes, just hold it lightly, allow yourself to explore and see what you can discover about yourself and how you can use your incredible ability, which I admire hugely, to execute in a way that serves you. And maybe it's supporting someone else and noticing. Just have a look in the world, do some more research. And come and join us in the living room. This is exactly the kind of conversations that we have. And I help people exactly like you find more of what actually helps you live your life in a way that serves you, so you can get to the outcomes that you want to get to. Do check out the other video, which is about, as I mentioned, when you seek to achieve things, but you don't finish, you don't quite get to it. So it's quite relevant for this video as a follow-on. And often the resolve to a lot of these things is very simple. However, it's difficult to continue executing because it takes the decision to commit to it, to show up for it, and also to be okay with not getting it right. That's really important. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic day, everybody, and I look forward to the next video and chatting with you all. But for now, keep going, be compassionate with yourself, be intentional, and come and join us in the living room, and we'll talk very soon. From Harlow and I in the beautiful forest, in the rain. It's cold today, but it's lovely, it's beautiful. But come and join us again, and we'll see you soon. You've got this.